Hello everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in with us at 8 p.m. on Monday at Campus Debates Season 2. We have been fighting and watching the shows where we've had semi-finals among the teams that actively managed to make it to the semis. An additional twist then is who gets to own the position of third place. With that, we have the teams that are representing the fight for third place from University of Nairobi and Tangaza University. They were not able to win their semi-finals round, and with that, they're currently fighting for the third place position. My name is Masi Vugutsa, and I'll be your host. I would love to introduce the speakers for tonight. From third proposition, we have the University of Nairobi. And from side opposition, we have the team from Tangaza University. While they're settling down, I'll allow our amazing judges to introduce themselves and possibly tell us which team they think can make third place.
Hi everyone, my name is Leon Agula. I'll be a judge for this round. As for which team gets third place, it's the best team, so may the best team win.
Hi guys, my name is Lucy Osenyi. I'll be the chair for this round. In regards to which team, the team that will take the third place, well, the beauty of debate is competing for the spot, so go for it. All the best.
Hi, my name is Ndolo. The team that will finish third is Manchester United. For you guys, I don't know. You just need to convince me. All the best.
I mean, it's good to dream that Manchester United can finish third, but I guess that's why this season is here. With that, I will allow the speakers to introduce themselves and tell us whether they think they can actively hold the position of third place or if they abdicate it and rather opt for the position of fourth place. Side proposition.
Hello everyone, my name is Gloria Bon and I think I'm going to do my best.
Hi everyone, my name is Twain and we are definitely gonna win this.
From side proposition, there's a guarantee that they will do their best and definitely win the round. I think ladies are a direct testament of the fact that women can do it all and can have it all. And I think with that premise, there's a high likelihood they might just win this round. We welcome side opposition to respond and possibly tell us if they think they can win.
Hello everyone, my name is David Onyango. I'm pleased to be here. What I can tell proposition is that the lion and the Zion is here. So it will be determined who wins. Thank you.
The winner is already determined. You know, as Manu was saying they will finish 3, he means the goals they were scored 3. He never meant they will win as position 3. So he's leaving the number to us to win it very comfortably without any problem. So to proposition, let's fight for the best position for each of us.
And from the gents that we have from side opposition, their goal is to actively tell you that the lion, the champion, the conqueror, you know, and that song is here. So we hope the very best within this round, that the teams will give their A game and possibly win the debate. The motion for this round reads, this House supports the use of marketing boards in the agricultural sector, help stabilize prices by setting minimum prices for agricultural products, preventing drastic market fluctuations, and ensure farmers are not exploited. I'll repeat that. This House supports the use of marketing boards in the agricultural sector to help stabilize prices by setting minimum prices for agricultural products, preventing drastic market fluctuations, and ensure that farmers are not exploited. To all the farmers out there, we're here to fight for you. And without further ado, we welcome the first speaker proposition to start off their argument. Here.
I know in this motion we have several stakeholders, one of them being the main stakeholder being the farmer, and we have the consumers, we also have the government, but there's a key stakeholder that we need to understand who's problematic, who is the broker, the one who connects the consumers and the one who connects the consumers and the farmers, as well as the one who get the middlemen corporations, which are also like the brokers, who tend to be in the middle of the farmers and the high-end organizations that take the producers and also like go to advance them so that the consumers can get the end product. So as I've stated, the main stakeholders, and I've said that the problem here is actually not the farmers and the consumers or the government, but actually the brokers. And our solution is that every stakeholders know what is expected of them. When we have these standardized prices, let's say now that the marketing board will be in place, and they'll be able to achieve or set a standard price for the markets from the farmers, then the farmer or even the consumers, everyone will be expected to know what they expect. Like these key corporations won't actually undermine the farmers by buying these products from a low price and going to sell them to large-scale operations at a extremely high price, in return disadvantaging the farmers, or like let's say they are getting these producers from a really low price from the farmers, and also like selling them to users at a really high price, and also disadvantaging the farmer. That won't be in place. And another key problem that we have is that most of these farmers aren't actually literate. So when we say that we're going to create awareness by education, that will be really disadvantaging them. Some of them have not been in a class, or the little knowledge they have is on how to manage the product, or just like what pesticide to use, what manure to use, and not like the literal education of a class. So when we say that we're going to tackle this problem, the best way of creating awareness will be via billboard. Everyone can see. Most of these farmers are visual beings. They're not visually impaired, so they'll be able to see that and see what to work with. And when you ask yourself like what roles of these marketing boards are, is typically most of these boards are actually typically, let's say, government corporations or any other corporate institution that has been ordained to take up on that role. And they can also they can minimize the prices, they can stabilize the prices to ensure that there's no fluctuation. So you want to go to the market today and get like 10 onions for 5 bob, and then when you go to the market the following day you get 100, like you get 1 onion for 100 bob. That's their work to ensure that there's a mutual understanding and a mutual benefit for every stakeholder involved. And they also ensure that farmers are not exploited by these intermediaries and who might otherwise buy in fairly low prices and leave the farmers with very little income. And we know that this motion has a really trickle-down effect. When the farmers are not doing okay, it takes an economic stand to what the economic state of the country. And when they actually are being fairly compensated, they'll be able to advance their farming techniques. They'll be able to have they'll be able to actually create more profits, and also in return perform their due diligence as citizens and pay the taxes. And these taxes will go along to do the better a greater good, which is also like developing the infrastructure of our country. And most of the economic benefits are actually for more stable prices, and farmers can better plan for their futures. And we know that, for instance, in our country, or even in our continent, we're among the largest producers in the world. But the only reason why we suffer, like we produce tea, but yet the fine quality of tea is actually not produced in our, the end product is not produced in our countries. And this is the problem that we have. These middlemen take the tea from a really low price, and then they go sell it to outside institutions, and then they bring it back at a really high price that not even a normal Mwananchi can afford. So when they actually do this, with the profits that they get, they'll be able to even develop that, they can be able to advance their systems and even produce the fine products here rather than taking them to these international corporations for final refine. And with that, I rest my case.
Well, we have heard from side proposition making the argument that they want to reduce the idea of manipulation existing between farmers and their sellers. Let's hear from side opposition what it is they have to say about what proposition has said. Here.
Panel, concerning this kind of motion, where we are looking at the marketing boards. We know very well that marketing boards are used to stabilize the prices of goods that farmers are producing. And production in a country is the basic mode of development. That one we all know and understand. I don't get it when my friend comes here and says that brokers come and buy some goods from the farmers, and sell them at a higher price. For example, I come and buy a given good at 200 shillings, and I sell it at 300 shillings as a broker. How is this affecting the development or the achievement of the farmers? That one I did not understand when you talk about that. So, again, to now begin my submission on this, I want to tell you that the marketing boards, they only offer a short-term stability and they create a long-term inefficiencies. When you use this kind of boards, they will always be setting standards that they expect products to be sold at. In this scenario, you find them, they're causing a lot of inefficiencies. So key terms that I want to use here to defend this motion, number one, why we are not buying the idea of marketing board is because they are limiting farmers' autonomy. If I talk about farmers' autonomy, what I mean is the freedom of farmers. Think of a scenario where you are told, whatever you are done, you are controlled on what to do and how to do it. These boards come to control farmers on the prices they use, but they don't understand the cost that you use in producing these particular products. For example, you are producing tea. The cost or the production cost that you use in plowing and doing etc. could have been higher than this. Then after producing this particular product, you are told that you cannot go above this particular price. This one limits your freedom of getting the profit that you will have realized if you could have set the profit according to the season where you are planting. Because there are some seasons when you plant, you get that the customers or the buyers are very low and you run at a loss. And you find out that this kind of marketing boards, they are not flexible. Like when a time of off-peak and the time of low-peak, they don't regulate their prices, but rather they take the same price that they used to last year or previous season to set their standards. So by this, you find that the farmers get a lot of, they're hindered in their productivity. They don't make any profit to enhance their productions. Then again, when you look for example, potential for corruptions, we understand that these boards, they are centralized, like they are managed by a given person or a given individuals who always want to be served according to their interest, what they want. And this makes them set their own standard, which increases the rate of corruptions. And when the corruption thrives in an economy, it affects the major sector of production, which is agriculture. The product that you produce will not have good benefit for the development of the countries. So, and when this happens, mostly we get, the burden is seen on the taxpayers who gives out the taxes. When you find that the corruption is high, the people who suffer most are the taxpayers. And this brings a lot of instability in this point. So, under this corruption, there is nobody who will be able to manage these kind of boards. And you find that the farmers are less fortunate in their production. And this reduces the cost, this reduces the benefit that farmers accrued from their products. Thank you.
Well, we have heard from both sides, proposition and opposition, both of them trying to defend their motion and trying to defend the agriculture department and sector within our country. I don't know which argument was able to sway you, but without further ado, we'll be going on a short commercial break. And once we are back, we'll allow the speakers to further their arguments a bit more and convince you further as to who exactly needs to hold the position of third place in Campus Debate Season 2. Thank you so much for choosing to hang on with us for this amazing episode where we have teams fighting for third place. From side proposition, we have University of Nairobi, and from side opposition, we have Tangaza University. It's been a lively round, and the question they have posed to us is, who do you think needs to set market prices for the idea of farmers and at the same time consumers, and who best caters to the taxpayers within the state? Without further ado, we welcome the second speaker proposition to wrap up the proposition's argument. Here.
So yeah, shout out to my parents at home, my brothers, amazing people. Yeah, I think opposition largely loses out this debate because they fail to listen to what Gloria tells them. Gloria already tells them the problem that exists within this debate is that the brokers are necessarily very, very selfish and like they have their interest at heart. What this then means is that exploitation of farmers is likely to happen. What do we think is the solution from like a proposition, and why do we think that's a better solution? We think at the point in time people are less aware of what is happening, or like they're less likely to know the prices of goods. They're more likely going to buy goods at certain prices that don't necessarily accrue to the benefits of the farmers. Why do we think this is true? At the point in time, there's already fluctuations in the market. You do not know how much an onion costs, or you don't know how much a tomato costs. You would go to the market and easily buy it for like 30 bob and that sort of chat. We think the only way you are able to solve this problem is if you create awareness. We think then at that particular point, the only way you're able to create awareness is create market boards for this sort of stuff. Why do we think this is the only like viable solution? We think largely a lot of people, especially in developing countries and that sort of chat, are people necessarily who don't have like, are not quite literate and all that stuff. The alternative then can't be to educate them on how price fluctuation works and or like how price caps are necessarily going to work. The only way you do this is that you put a price board. So like you just tell them this is the amount of money you're supposed to be paying for onions, and like this is the amount of money you're supposed to be paying for like tomatoes and that sort of chat. Why do we think this is the best interest of everybody in terms of the consumer and the farmer? We think it's less likely that brokers are going to be very exploitative. Why do we think this is true? At the point in time you are aware of how much you're supposed to be paying, it's unlikely that a broker is going to sell the whole idea like market and the whole like onions and tomatoes at a very expensive price. Why do we think this is true? At that particular point, you have the knowledge and you have the power. At that point, you have the bargaining power that is necessarily essential for you as a person to necessarily make very like informed decision. What do we think are the outcomes of this? We think the outcome then becomes, at the point in time you're already aware of the price you want to like buy something from, you are less likely to spend more money on a certain good. What this then means, even the farmers know how much the consumers are buying the consumers are buying the products for. They're also they're also more likely at a bargaining power that is beneficial for them. So like if you know the consumers are buying tomatoes for 30 shillings, you're more likely going to sell it to the broker at 10 shillings and not like at 1 shilling. We think that exploitation is largely catered for like in our side of the world. But the second thing then becomes on the principal argument, like panel. Just listen to this. We think at the point in time the farmers are the ones who are producing these particular products for you. It's unjustified for the brokers to get so much money out of this. We think it's justified for these farmers to necessarily get the better share of like the cake and that sort of chat. Why do we think OP infringes on that justification? We think at the point in time there is no price cap set. There's no like whatsoever like price that is meant for you to buy certain goods from. You are necessarily making it justified that farmers should just like get any sort of like money, and we think that's bad. How do we impact the consumers, and why do we think this is the most important argument in the debate? We think the consumers get better quality stuff. Why do we think this is very important? We think agriculture carries like a lot of life, and like agriculture is the major producing and that sort of chat. You necessarily need food to survive. You need all these things to survive. We think at that particular point, it's very important for you and very crucial for you as a human being to get the best out of agriculture. But secondly, on the farmers, we think farmers have a better bargaining power on our side of the world because of the awareness that we create from our side. Why do we think this is beneficial to them? They get profit. What this then means, they have the motivation to produce. We think at the point in time, farmers do not have the motivation to produce because of how the brokers are necessarily infringing on their rights to like money and that sort of chat. It's unlikely that the whole economy is going to thrive. Why do we think farmers are less likely incentivized to produce when there is no price cap. We think A, they would likely opt into like producing for their families and that sort of chat. Because at the point in time you're not getting any sort of benefit, or the benefit you're getting is so marginal compared to like how hard you're working, it's unlikely that you'd necessarily continue producing for the country. What these guys do on their side is that they make farmers less motivated to produce. Why that is bad is now the whole country is like now in shambles, you do not have food and that sort of chat. We think that's very problematic. What does OPS say and why do we still beat them at their best? They say they want autonomy for farmers. We think we cater for that on our side of the world. Why do we think it's unlikely that they cater for autonomy of farmers? A, how agriculture works is that the farmer produces and the broker comes and like takes the goods and sells it to the consumer. Why we think they're not likely to get autonomy is because of three things. You exploit the farmers, they have less motivation to like work. At that particular point, you have no autonomy for these farmers. But secondly, you give them unjustified pay. What this then means, they are less likely wanting to produce and that sort of chat. But the third thing, we think there's more, like less products are just being bought within the space. Like this is just Econ 101. At the point in time, people are not producing, like the farmers are not producing. We think people are more likely not going to be buying goods and that sort of chat because now it's very expensive for them to accrue benefits and that sort of chat. We think that's very, very problematic for the society. They come and ask us a question like, how does the brokers affect the performance of farmers? Like, literally, come on. I think at the point in time, the broker already has like more incentive to sell things like at a very expensive rate. It's unlikely that the farmer will want to sell it at a very cheap price. I already tell you how they're more likely going to opt into like producing for their families and that sort of chat. And we think that's very problematic because that ideally incentivizes like a lot of that ideally like disincentivizes people to like get food and that sort of chat. We think agriculture is very, very important. The welfare of the farmers are most important. We think at a point in time there is a lot of exploitation that happens within the broker space. It's unjustified for you to necessarily like not put price caps. The only way you're able to deal with this problem is create awareness for these people that necessarily impacts A, the consumers, B, the farmers, and thirdly, the economy at large. We think we win this from proposition.
The second speaker, Proposition, has equally submitted her matter, defending why Proposition in this debate largely has justification to set price caps specifically to benefit farmers within the space. With that, we welcome second speaker, Opposition, to respond and equally summarize their case as Opposition. Hear, hear.
So first of all, to the proposition, you are quite argumentative about the price tag, which is fine. But remember that anytime you are putting a price tag, you are meaning that that price tag might run for a given period. You don't want a short-term solution. You want a long-term solution. And what we are talking about is, like, for example, the tea example that you have used is this middleman will buy that tea from the farmer, sell it outside, then get the profits and bring us the good qualities. That's what you are talking about, and we don't disagree. They will buy it at a cheaper rate and sell it at a higher rate, then the consumer will be the one who is suffering. Here, the main beneficiary is the middleman, not the farmer, not the consumer. The second beneficiary is the government. Why? Because the middleman immediately sells that outside, they receive the tax, they will be taxed, and after being taxed, the money will go to the government. But the consumer will only face a problem whereby this is where you talk about quality over quantity. Because, for example, I'll give you what happened in the European Union where they produced Butter Mountain. This butter mountain was caused due to what? Market distortion. People thought that the butter market will grow high, but yet in the later turn, it was not what they thought, and they did what is known as overproduction. And this overproduction caused things like wine leakages, whereby they poured wine into the river because they never saw anyone to buy it. So these market prices, they are not useful to the society, they're just wasting the resources of the society. Secondly, I will take a PI. Secondly, when you come here and argue that in our best scenario in this case, that if we win, if we can prove to you how the farmer will benefit, is if the farmer has that freedom is one thing, the farmer will produce not based on the family, but because the government itself is a democratic world, the farmer will use the government as a curbing matrix. Like, for example, how the president introduced the fertilizers and the farmers went back to growing plants. But in this system, if the people who are controlling the market for them, the farmers now will base their own argument that these people are eating from us, let's now produce based on the what? On our family. But in our best world is that the farmer now will realize no one is curbing me, I can produce at a high rate to reduce the prices so that I can increase more customers. And they will produce it on quality, not quantity the way you want it to be. But another thing, remember, if you introduce something like, I told you I'll take your PI. If you introduce something that is curbing these people from buying things, it will now depend from the government to give them subsidy. And remember, the president also removed these things because he knew it's costing us a lot of money. If something like, for example, fertilizers, if the fertilizer rise, that means the person who is suffering is the farmer, and the farmer, if he suffers, the customer is suffering, and the world is suffering. You have just argued with us and agreed that food is the best. Okay.
What is a price cap?
For example, you talked about onion costing at 30 bob. So if a price cap, you have just placed it that onion to be bought at 30 bob, it will always consist to be bought at 30 bob. Okay, that's a price cap. You have capped it to be there. If, for example, you have said this book will cost at 30 bob, that book will remain to be 30 bob, and that can only work if and only if the customers can, the farmer can be able to produce. Look at this price, this marketing boards, the one you are really wanting us to go through. One, our factories have failed to grow. Why? Because they don't see why the need of them selling the products here in Kenya, and yet there's a middleman. But if you can now change the system to just build industries so that those industries can buy these products direct from the farmer and then produce for us these beautiful clothes that we are wearing, it could be much better instead of producing, making people to just say that if you are producing cotton, it will be costing at 100 bob or 30 bob, and then there is that fluctuation. Remember, the seasons of the world, they are now totally different. These people are there just for their beneficial and pocket money. If they don't get that, they will not even help the world. Now, again, is that lack of transparency and accountability. Remember, those people who are now there to get that accountability, it won't be there because they are only after their pocket and their family, not the mere mwananchi and the farmer. That's why you hear a lot of these days the farmers are going out of strike, saying they will not be selling this, they will not be selling that. Why? Because of that lack of accountability. They don't know who is selling at a good price. But if you leave the farmer to have his free will or his free nature of buying and selling is good, they will be able to produce at a large scale, because they know if I produce at a large scale, I will increase more customers, because the more the goods are more, the more easier the customers will come. But if the goods are reduced, the customers won't come to buy them at a high rate. So the farmer will just use his knowledge, whereby you have also agreed that they are not illiterate, they're educated, they know about what they are doing. They will decide, let's only buy this, let's only do this for the benefit of more customers and not less customers. But immediately put a middleman. Anytime you are holding money and you want to give to one person so that it can reach the other person, remember to reach the person as low as possible. That's why you hear that the country will never end without corruption. This country is running due to corruption because of people like you who are saying, let's introduce people in between our money and our farmers. That's why our food, sometimes we hear it has mercury and other things because of people like this. So please, my dear adjudicators, don't support middlemen and only place one person in hand, and that is the farmer, the consumer, and the government. And that we shall be peaceful. I rest my case. I'm Alexander Boliba, to my mom and my brothers at home.
Well, 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 the debate has been interesting and has been pushed with the matter touching on agriculture and whether we're catering to farmers, consumers, or the state at large. I think the arguments from both teams have been very convincing, but if you catch us after this short break, we'll be able to give you a short summary for what has happened from side proposition and opposition. With that, see you in a few minutes. Take care. Thank you so much for choosing to hang on with us for the third segment of this fight for third place, where we have University of Nairobi debating against Tangaza University. What has been in existence of this round is the defense for whether we need a price cap to be set for the idea where farmers are no longer exploited within the space of agriculture. I don't know what you think about the motion. I don't know which team was able to sway you, but I think the judges have come to a consensus. They wish to prolong the fight a bit further by asking a question to proposition and opposition. I guess the responses will determine who gets to be third place and who gets to be fourth place. Without further ado, judges.
To cite proposition, marketing boards have their own problems. How do you cater and navigate such problems to ensure success to farmers and consumers?
Sean, the question is, now that you're shifting the decision to farmers for them to make decisions on prices, how then are you protecting the consumer? Because if you think about it, the farmers are then getting the autonomy to make the maximum profit they want, right? What about the consumer? How are you taking care of them?
I don't know if the speakers have responses to these questions, but we'll give them a minute to try convince the judges a bit further. Proposition, you have 1 minute. Here.
So largely, we do agree that marketing boards have problems, and we think that at a point in time, agriculture has nuanced benefits in terms of how agriculture is the only way that feeds people. We largely believe that there is no way anybody on earth can live without agriculture. Like, I mean, you need food, and every food comes from agriculture. We think that nuanced benefit, or like that proximity of needs, makes it very, very, very important for the marketing boards to prioritize this particular agriculture. It's not about taking away all the problems that exist within marketing boards, but rather priorities. We think at a point in time, the agricultural space has nuanced benefits. It's very, very likely that the marketing boards would have an incentive to make sure that the success of the agriculture space is necessarily made sure of that. We think the incentive then is largely the reason why we think marketing boards are likely to prioritize the needs of agricultural space. And with that, we rest.
But there is a saying that we all say that quality things are very expensive, but they last long. And cheap things are very cheaper, but they are expensive in the end. They will be worn out. Now, to your question, we have something known as customer rights, whereby the customer also has his own rights to say that this thing, I will buy it at a bargaining price. That's why when you go to Kikomba, you can be able to bargain for that cloth or that shirt or that T-shirt. But if you take it without the farmer, if the farmer extorts you, you know that you can go to another farmer who has the same product, still shift to another farmer, and the product will be good. This will also increase what is known as innovation to those farmers, because the farmer will know that if I can change my quality of my products, people will buy mine than the other person. But if the middleman might just say that this quality of this product should be at this limit, and that's the end, and it should not change. That will affect the customer and the innovation of those farmers. Thank you, and I rest my case.
The speakers have tried their level best to actively prove to you which side has won and which side has not. The motion for this round was, this House supports the use of marketing boards in the agricultural sector to help stabilize prices by setting minimum prices for agricultural products, preventing drastic market fluctuations, and to ensure that farmers are not exploited. Judges, who do you think has maintained third position, and who do you think will have to forfeit third and possibly rank fourth in Campus Debates Season 2?
Okay, so I'll start off with a brief summary of the cases we captured from both sides. So from proposition, what we got was the fact that brokers, being part of the system, are usually one of the biggest problem makers, because they tend to buy at much lower prices and then sell at very high prices. So this ends up being a disadvantage to both the farmers and the consumers. As such, there needs to be a level of awareness through these market boards in terms of setting a minimum price so that farmers get what they deserve as well as consumers. From opposition, what we captured is the fact that marketing boards in and of themselves are very short term, and they end up bringing long-term inefficiencies, and they end up limiting the autonomy of the farmers, which is something that they focused on. And they're even willing to bite the bullet and say that even if it means that farmers themselves end up setting these prices, they believe that it is much more important because this is the best way in which the farmers are going to be protected. So we go to the call. So for in a unanimous decision, we had proposition over opposition, and the reasons were this. So for proposition, one of the ways in which they characterize these farmers is the fact that, and consumers as well, is the fact that these are not people who are necessarily literate, therefore they won't necessarily understand how market fluctuations work. So marketing boards are much better in terms of setting a standard price so that the farmers are relieved from having to think about what kind of prices to determine, and even the brokers in this situation. Now for opposition, one of the main questions we had in terms of once the brokers are removed is that the moment farmers get the autonomy of setting this price, the consumers end up not benefiting from this because farmers can set whatever price they want. And in the response that the opposition gave is that there's going to be customer rights within this situation so that the customers ends up having bargaining power. However, we found that this ends up bringing a clash because now the farmer wants to sell at a particular price, but the consumer wants to buy at a particular price. At this situation, then, who is it that is going to sort out this mess, this clash that comes in? So it is either you bite the bullet and take the brokers in this situation, or, as proposition was suggesting, marketing boards that will help to level out all of these issues in terms of the fluctuations and to ensure protection for both the farmer and the consumer. So in short, there needed to have been a lot more analysis in terms of how does the consumer in this situation, who is a part of this entire ecosystem, how do they still end up being protected even if the farmers ends up setting whatever type of price that they want. Therefore, whether it's brokers or marketing boards, there needed to have been more clarity on that situation. That being said, congratulations to both teams. Congratulations, you're on getting third place. Tangaza, once again, getting to fourth place is not necessarily an easy thing. There are a lot of teams that you had ended up beating, and I think you also deserve congratulations for that.
You have heard from the judges themselves. At the start of this round, one of the judges mentioned that maybe Manchester United will be the one to finish third this season. Funny enough, from the speakers who have just won this round, we have a fan of Manchester United. He might just have predicted what's going to happen with the Premier League, but I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Congratulations to Side Proposition for being able to win for themselves, which means they're officially third place in Campus Debate Season 2, University of Nairobi, represented by Gloria and Twain from University of Nairobi. And from Side Opposition, they've been also able to garner for themselves position 4 in Campus Debate Season 2. It's been a very tough journey for them. They've been winning majority of their rounds, and the outruns are just all that unpredictable. With that, it means they are once again a formidable team that has been able to get fourth place, Tangaza University, represented by the amazing speakers before us. It has been a lovely round, and I think with that we now have an incentive for the agricultural sector to start setting up billboards for marketing where price caps exist so that farmers are not exploited. If you agree with the call that the judges have made, feel free to message us on X at KTN with the hashtag Campus Debates, and we'll for sure respond to you and get to interact further as to what happened within this debate and further what happened in the debates that are to come. Hang on with us for a few more episodes. You'll get to see how the finals would look like and who then will get to win the trophy of Campus Debate Season 2. With that, it's been lovely, it's been fun to sit here with you for an amazing hour. See you next week, Monday, same time, same place, with me, Matthew Lubitsa.